In today's video, guys, I want to talk about gear sets. I want to talk about substats. I want to talk about pretty much everything related to gear in King Arthur Legends Rise. Welcome to the channel, everyone. I'm Skratch. Hope you guys are having an amazing day, sending some good vibes your way. Basically, guys, we want to see what a god roll piece actually looks like in King Arthur and how exactly we should build our characters, right? I feel like that's something that is actually very, very important. We're gonna get to the forge and we're gonna get to some of my characters and some of their builds and stuff like that in a second. First, I want to walk you through basically all of the gear sets. I want to walk you through what stats they can get, all of the pieces. So if you are gonna go over to one hero, for example, let's just take Tristan right here, equipment. You're gonna notice that we have basically three different sections, okay? So you have the main pieces of gear right here, you have the accessories, and then you have different pieces that have a bit of an odd name, all related to the ascension of your character. So three different sections, okay? Then, of course, there are tons of different sets. Now, the bottom pieces that have to do with the ascension, guys, have exactly 6 different sets, if I'm not mistaken. You can farm 3 of them, and you can forge 3 of them. Plus, of course, the rest of the gear is kind of like combined together, right? Either 4-piece sets, either 2-piece sets, and the bottom will be 3-piece sets. Individually, they will have nothing to do with the top 6 pieces basically left or right. So that's something that you guys should be aware of as well. And I'm gonna walk you through basically something that it has been put online as information from the developers, if I'm not mistaken. So these are all of the set bonuses right here. You have attack, you have defense, life, damage, which is basically boosting your crit damage. You have critical, boosting your critical rate, speed, which will increase your attack speed. That's what will determine basically how fast you are moving, who's taking the first turn, etc. You have the accuracy, resistance, drain, is very similar with lifesteal or leech, depending on what other games you've played before. You have the heal set, which will basically increase the healing that your support champions will give. You have a vigor set, which is one of the most powerful sets in the game at the moment. Will basically give you 1 vigor every time you're taking a turn, and this will enable your characters to use some of their bigger skills, right? Special skill 2, special skill 3, counter attack set, a pretty awesome set. I'm actually a massive fan of it. You have the elemental set, which will basically have a chance to land a dot on the enemy. You have the other 6 sets that will only be 3-piece sets, and that will be after you ascend your characters. Fortitude, Immortal, Strife, Corrosion, Focus, and Unity. I can't remember each one of them individually what they do, but we're going to check that in a second. There are some very powerful sets in there for support, for damage dealers. And the next thing that's really, really important is to understand what sort of stats we can get on the gear, because you might be wondering, okay, I need to get more accuracy, I need to get more speed, I need to get more crit rate, more crit damage on your characters, and you don't know what to expect, right? You don't know where you're gonna find those stats. So I feel like sharing this with you is gonna be pretty helpful and important to kind of like know what we're looking for. The left pieces can only have the same stats, guys, okay? So the helmet will always be main attack. So in case if you are curious and you haven't realized that by any chance just yet, the main stat is the top one right here. We have attack. This is something that will never be different on a helmet. It's always attack. On a chest is always defense. On the boots is always HP. So that's something you cannot change. Now the rest of the stats, they're substats. They have 2 different type of substats. They have the regular substats right here, and then they have prefix substats. Let me see if I have a piece equipped that actually has it. And that is actually coming in a different color, like this one right here. You see this ring, I have the main stat as attack percentage. Then I have the prefix stat, substat, which is the HP in blue. And then I have the regular substats right here. So that's something that the game actually has. When we are talking about what we can get from all of these pieces, right here, guys, we have the main stats of the equipment. So the equipment will be the helmets, the chest, and the boots. They will have different names in this game. Every single game will try to basically find their own version of each one of these pieces, but it is a chess piece basically, right? So the helmets only attack, the chess pieces only defense, and the boots only HP. Now the accessories will be different, okay? You have the necklace, which can be flat attack, defense, or HP. Then it can be attack percentage, defense percentage, HP percentage, effect accuracy, and effect resistance. We're going to get to the substats and all that in a second too. Then you have the earrings, which will give you either attack, defense, or HP. Of course, that being flat or percentage. Or you can get crit damage, or crit rate, or hit accuracy. So right now, if you are looking to basically try and get crit rate on your character, or crit damage on your character, more than you have on the substats, you need to look for a better earring, okay? That will actually have a chance to drop your crit rate or crit damage. So understanding this will kind of like make up an idea in our head how that god roll piece of gear actually looks like, right? Or the god roll, the god build on a character. On the rings, you're getting the flat stats plus attack speed. Now, attack speed is very important because that's what determines how fast are your characters moving. Early on, you're not really going to notice much of a difference because most of the bosses will be slower than you. But once you start climbing up on higher stages, you're going to realize that the bosses are so much faster and you're going to need that attack speed. So this is one of the best places on where you can actually equip that attack speed. Plus, of course, you're going to have the keepsakes, but that's something that comes in later on. Now, in terms of substats, you can get attack, defense, HP, or recovery. Recovery will help your healers to generate a bigger healing. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're really trying to build up a healer, you're going to want to have a lot of HP percentage because most of the healing comes based on their own HP. The more HP on them, the bigger the heals. The more recovery on them, the bigger the heals. Then, when we get at the keepsakes pieces, which are the bottom one, where you need to ascend your characters, you're going to have the belt, which will give you attack, defense, or HP, those being flat. You're going to get recovery, which, of course, comes as a percentage rather than a flat, effect accuracy, and effect resistance. Now, effect accuracy is very, very important. And when we are taking in consideration that the accessories can give us effect accuracy as well, but the belt cannot give us attack percentage. So when we are building a damage dealer that will require the accuracy, you're going to want to aim for the necklace with an attack percentage most likely. Then for the belt with an effect accuracy, which is going to be much better than a flat attack. You kind of like get what I'm saying here, right? And when we're going to get at the orbs, you're going to get attack, defense, HP, which are flat, attack speed. You're going to get hit accuracy, recovery, or evasion rate. So in this case, either you're going to go for attack speed, which most likely, again, is going to be the better bet, because the only other place from where you can get attack speed as a main will be the rings. So you kind of like want to aim for both of them as attack speed, because you will require it in higher stages. The more attack speed on your characters, the better, especially if you're planning to run different sets like vigor or crit rate or crit damage or attack, something that will not actually increase the attack speed. So trying to aim for those right stats on all of these pieces will be important. And that's how we're slowly getting up to that god roll, god build rather than god roll, because we're talking about a build here. We're not talking about only one piece. Evasion rate is going to be very, very important as well, because you can basically dodge an entire attack. That can make a massive difference. Either it's going to keep your character alive and come in as a clutch and basically win the fight because of it. Stuff like that, basically, with the evasion rate is actually pretty important. Then you have the banner. You have attack, defense, and HP. You can get crit rate, you can get crit damage, you can get pierce, you can get endurance. So pierce is basically kind of like ignoring defense. Endurance is kind of like something that counters the pierce, right? So pierce will be pretty important on damage dealers again, and this is the only place where you can actually find this stat as a main. I'm not even sure if we can get it as a substat. We might be able to get it on the keepsakes pieces, but we're going to check that in a second, because we're going to move over to substats in a second. But that's basically how all of the stats are distributed on all of the pieces. Feel free to save this if you're interested. You can find it directly on their forum, or I've posted it on my Discord as well, just in case if you need it. Of course, if you're building tanks, you're gonna want to have defense. If you want to build support characters, as I mentioned, HP is gonna be important. So you want to know where you can find that HP percentage, because at the moment we're getting a lot of flat stats. And I think up to a specific star or grade on your gear, you're only going to be able to get flat stats. But I might be mistaken on that, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure, but I haven't got any 3-star pieces or lower that has a percentage main stat. So I feel like that's a good thing, because early on, when your characters are not at a high level, in most of the games, having flat stats equipped over percentage stats will benefit them more early on. Later, once you start scaling those levels, flat stats become irrelevant and percentage becomes the king, basically, right? So I feel like the game is kind of like doing it to help you build your characters a bit better. So honestly, I've only seen percentage dropping 4 stars upwards, but maybe I've been unlucky. And that might not be the case, though. So going back to substats, guys. So in terms of substats, you can get tons and tons of substats on your pieces. Starting with the equipment, all of the 3 pieces, the helmets, the boots, the chest pieces will drop the same stats. So you can get either flat attack, defense, or HP, either percentage. You can get crit rate, you can get effect resistance, effect accuracy, attack speed, and you can get hit accuracy. I'm not sure if you can get hit resistance on these pieces, to be honest. So basically, for whoever is not familiar what these substats actually mean. So if we're going to click on details right here to see all of the substats, basically, guys, you have the effect accuracy, which will be required for you to land debuffs, okay? To put defense down, to decrease the gauge, to basically do any of those type of effects. Then you have the effect resistance, which will counter that. But then you have the hit accuracy, and you have the hit resistance, okay? So that's a bit odd, right? It's something that I haven't encountered in any other game that I've played before. And it took me a little bit to kind of like understand exactly what it does, because I had to check it out multiple times to really make sense out of it, because unfortunately the game doesn't actually provide the details right here when you click on the substats. Would be amazing if they would implement some information related to each one of the substats, especially the ones that are not making as much sense, right? So if an opponent has high hit resistance and you don't have any hit accuracy to counter his resistance, basically your skill damage will not actually do anything versus that opponent. At least that's what I understood so far from it. So it doesn't really have anything to do with evasion, but at the same time, it's kind of like behaving in a similar manner, right? So that's what that stat actually does for the gear, in case if you were wondering as well. And I'm only 99% sure about it, even though I've checked with quite a few different people. Then when we're going to accessories, guys, you have the necklace, earrings, and you have the rings. Again, you can get attack percentage. Now, one thing that I'm convinced that it won't happen, you cannot have attack percentage as the main and then have attack percentage as a substat, okay? So that's another thing to keep in mind. That's something that is like this in every other game, so I'm expecting it to be exactly the same in here. I haven't noticed it to be the case, to be the contrary, actually, sorry. You can get effect resistance, effect accuracy, you can get crit damage, you can get crit rate, attack speed, evasion, and recovery. So again, it really depends what type of character you're trying to build, but you can actually kind of like look for the right stats. So let's just say, again, we're building a damage dealer. We're trying to get close to full crit rate. We're going to get a crit rate main on the accessory, but then the next things that we're looking for, crit damage, attack percentage as substats. If we have some attack speed, will be amazing. Some evasion. We cannot actually get any of the accuracy, hit accuracy on it, but we can get effect accuracy as a substat, and that will be very, very helpful as well. Then on keepsakes, same story. You can get all of the flat stats or percentage, attack, defense, and HP. Then you can get crit damage, you can get crit rate, effect resistance, effect accuracy, attack speed, and recovery. Now, as you may notice, you cannot get hit resistance or hit accuracy as a substat on the keepsakes. At least that's what the information provided right here shows us. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So far, I'm honestly not 100% sure how important is to have all that on. And that's just for the simple fact that how often are we going to encounter enemies with high hit resistance, right? And maybe the more we move into the end game, the more we will actually require to have hit accuracy on our characters. Then you have the prefix stats, guys. These are the ones in blue on your gear. Not all of them have it. The main thing is a god roll piece of gear will have prefix stats as well, and you're gonna try to follow the right subs as well next to it. But right here, as you may notice, the equipment and accessories together, so all of the 6 top pieces left and right, will basically have robust, which is max HP, tenacious, max HP percentage, so HP percentage, ferocious is gonna be attack, forceful attack percentage, solid defense, rugged defense percentage. You're gonna have nimble for attack speed, lethal, crit rate, vicious, crit damage, and you're gonna have unyielding effect resistance, and you're gonna have meticulous effect accuracy. So these are the only prefixes you can have on your gear, which pretty much are all of the stats in the game, more or less, right? But then when we are going over to the keepsakes, to belt, orb, and banners, this will actually change a little bit because it seems like it's kind of like more connected to the actual favors / factions. So the Hound's favor can only have robust, the Stack's favor can have ferocious, the Crown's favor can have solid, and you can basically find the description right here on the left side, rather than me walking you through all of the rest. Serpent's favor nimble, Steed's favor unyielding, and Bull's favor meticulous. So at the moment, I haven't uncovered a lot of keepsake pieces on my characters. I don't have many of them ascended to a high rank. I actually don't have any 6 stars done yet. That's something that I'm gonna have to do later in the game. But that's what we can expect in terms of prefix stats on our characters. Now, going back to all of these things right here, guys. Tons of different gear. You're gonna want to equip your characters with the best possible stats, substats you have available. Now, I know vigor sets, they're absolutely massive, okay? The problem is they only come from the forge. They're very expensive to craft, very hard to get good pieces. So if you're not able to equip all of your characters on vigor set, you're gonna have to basically use whatever else you have available for your characters to achieve the best possible stats on them. Like on Tristan, for example, I had to go with a speed set to be able to do some of the higher stages in the dungeons to ensure that he's gonna put that decreased attack gauge on the enemy, and he's gonna rotate as fast as possible to keep that on the enemy, so the rest of the team can actually step in and smack the boss, right? So for the moment, I need to run that. Now, once I'm gonna be able to get main stats as attack speed on some of the pieces, that will change, and I can go for a different set. And that's basically how it will be for all of us. But at the moment, the Vigor set, honestly, is the best set in the entire game. Not only that you need the materials, of course, but the cost in terms of wood and iron is pretty high. The gold cost is not that big of an issue, to be honest, but the iron and wood will be an issue. And once you're gonna try to go for 5 and 6 star, is just crazy. 25k wood and iron per piece, guys. Okay, so it will be much harder to get good pieces from 5 and 6 stars. That's why gambling with 4 and 5 stars is fine. But you need to keep in mind that you will require the materials. These they're coming from campaign, which is fine. You can go and farm the legendary moonlight from campaign. You need to farm dungeons to get the iron ingot. But you need to keep an eye on the rest of the materials. And when we're talking about basically crafting other sets, I would not suggest you to craft any of the sets that can be farmable. No matter how desperate you are, don't burn your resources on that for the moment. Later on, once you're going to basically build up your economy and you're going to be fine with most of the resources, you're not going to have to basically worry so much about them. You can go and do whatever. But for the moment, I would not suggest you to do that. Then you can craft, of course, the bottom pieces as well, guys. And as I mentioned, you have 6 different sets. You have the Immortal set. This will give you a hit barrier, a shield on your healers after they heal. That's going to be a massive one. You have the Strife set, which is really, really powerful for damage dealers. Gain attack increase for the rest of the battle. Charge attack gauge by 100%. And drains a percentage of the damage dealt to heal. Massive for damage dealers. Then you have Corrosion, which will basically inflict dot on the enemies. Very, very good as well. And it can be a random dot out of all of these ones. Of course, you have some of them that are much better, that deal more damage. Shock, 6% of the max HP. So dots are actually very powerful versus some specific bosses. Now, what I forgot are the other 3 sets. I can't really remember exactly what they're doing. So Fortitude, upon being hit when current HP is 20% or lower, you will recover 40% of the max HP, basically. So it's kind of like an extra life on you because you're gonna get saved from the hit, but you can only get 1 use out of it. Then you have the Focus set right here. At the start of the battle, you're gonna gain ability for 1 turn based on the class. This again is pretty nice, but it's only for 1 turn, so you can get Fighting Spirit. It depends what type of character uses the set: support, control, defense, etc. And the Unity set, at the start of the battle, grants unity to all allies that are the same element as the hero for the rest of the battle. So unity will be increased attack and defense. So that can be nice as well. I do prefer the top 3 sets, which are farmable. These 3 at the bottom, they are craftable only at the moment. So that's pretty much everything in terms of gear, guys. The substats, the stats that we can get on them, how a god roll piece would look like, and mainly how we should build our characters. So I'm quickly going to dive 1 minute into that part as well. So this is my roster at the moment. For example, I have Gillian. She's a healer, right? In terms of equipment, I have a recovery set on her. And that's mainly because I don't really have many good vigor sets available. Now, I have a couple that are being used on different characters that personally I think they are a bit more impactful for my teams. So that's why the other characters are using it. Plus, I really wanted to test the healing set to see if she's going to be able to provide some strong healing. So the best case scenario right here will be an HP percentage rather than a flat. Then have a flat HP and of course have other substats that will benefit her kit. This one right here, HP percentage all day. Then one of them can be recovery, right? You can go for one of them to be recovery if you want to increase the healing. But that's something as well that requires a bit of testing, at least from my point of view. Is it better to have HP percentage one that will give me 20% extra HP that will be just added on top of my healing, or having recovery instead of that 20% HP? Which one of them will actually be better to generate bigger healings? That's something that I need to test. I need more gold to do a lot of testing, guys, but I'll be doing more testing related to this type of topics down the line, basically. So that's kind of like what you're trying to get on her. Then you have the bottom pieces. Again, you can look for HP percentage. That will be the best outcome. You can look for recovery, right? And yes, you can get some defense. She might require some accuracy. Maybe on some different stages, she might require resistance. Who knows? Depending on what we're trying to defeat as well, right? So that's kind of like what you're aiming for a support character. And when we're talking about the left pieces right here, guys, the main stats are always flat, always the same. So you're looking for those substats, kind of like the HP percentage, defense percentage. You know, if you need the accuracy, if you need some attack speed, that's basically how it goes. And damage dealers, as I explained you before, you have the control characters, which will require more accuracy than the rest to ensure that they are basically landing the debuffs, reducing the attack gauge, etc. That was all for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. Hopefully it shed some clarity on all of these topics, guys. As usual, appreciate all of you guys watching. If you enjoyed the content, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.